A very important form of service that young people or consultants could do for members of the ward is to make sure that they're able to sign on to Family Search. It's surprising how many people over the years have forgotten their username and password or signed up in a way that makes it difficult for them to use the site. And so having a young person that is capable of helping them through the pitfalls of reestablishing connection with their login is an important skill. Once you get them signed into where they are legitimately on Family Search, then that same person could come to the tree and show them their tree. And once the tree comes up, many people find that instead of having a full tree like this, they just have their own name here and there's nothing else there. What they need to do is they need to add the living people until they get to deceased individuals. And once they're able to add a deceased individual, then all of the ancestors going back from that deceased individual appear. And so it's not nearly as overwhelming or complicated as some people think as they see only themselves. Helping them to learn the skill of adding people to the family tree and of occasionally needing to merge people. So for instance, when a family is building their tree, sometimes because living people cannot be shared, each person is creating a living version of the same individual. And once that person dies, those different versions can end up competing, and a person thinks that they're using the version that everybody else has seen, but they're actually not, and they've got to merge that duplicate with the other family members, and at that time then everything resolves. So having a youth that can help people sign on to Family Search and populate their tree so that they're able to use it is a really important initial skill for them to have. Another skill that is important, and probably this is the most famous one, is to help people to learn to index. And so if you come to this indexing tab, there's all sorts of help that will be made available, and most people can kind of puzzle it out and figure out how to do indexing if they just follow the video helps that are available here and they begin to practice according to the guidelines that are provided with each batch of indexing that's made available to them. This is a wonderful form of service, and many people know about it and have done it. Probably more people have done indexing than they've done most of the other family history activities. One thing that I like to do with this is to mention that in addition to indexing, at the same time they could teach what a record hint is. And so if you go to their tree, there will be these different lists that will show that where people are that have record hints. And so once they open them up, they can see that a record hint is available up here in the right-hand corner, and they can go ahead and review that record hint and attach it and use the information that's on it. The reason I like to teach these two things together is that a lot of people don't really understand what they're doing when they index. Their indexing is making it possible for the church to provide these record hints. New sources are being made available so that they can be able to easily find information that in the past was inaccessible. So helping somebody to index and helping them to understand what record hints are and how they facilitate them through indexing is another great skill that is worthwhile to pursue in a ward temple plan. Probably the most important thing that members can be taught and can quickly master is going to the temple tab and opening ordinances ready. This is the place where they can go to find people that need ordinances that are related to them. And so if they click baptisms, this will go and find people for them to take to the temple and perform baptisms for. It starts out with people that you have requested, then it goes and finds people that have been shared with the temple. And if it's unable to find those, then it goes into the tree and finds ancestors that need ordinances. And finally, if they don't find anything from any of those, then they will just give a person on the family tree that needs ordinances. But almost always people are able to find their own relatives to take to the temple and quickly print a card and go and do work for people they're related to. While this is a wonderful program and has made it so that really almost nobody needs to go to the temple and not perform ordinances for family members, something that I would always want to stress, and so this would be another skill that youth and consultants alike could help people with, is before you take these people to the temple, open up their person page, and when you open their person page, you're able to see the information that we have about them. And so you could review, if you can help people to understand how to review the person page so that they're able to look down and say, okay, they've got 8 sources, that's wonderful. That's a lot of validation for the information that we've got there. And so each source will tell you there's 7 sources that prove or validate the birth date, only 2 sources that validate the death date. But what we would love to have is at least one source validating every piece of information that we have. And as a person reviews the person page, they're looking and saying, do I have good birth and death information? Do I have family information that's useful? Is there a spouse? Do they have children? Are the parents there? We don't have a marriage date for these parents. Could I get that easily enough? Seriously, was he the only one that was born to Jacob and Anna? Are there brothers and sisters? And so if you ask those questions before you take them to the temple, that's a really great thing to do. If you go and complete all the ordinances, we won't have this green temple icon anymore. People won't be drawn to this person. And it might very well be that they won't look to see if there were any other brothers and sisters or a spouse if the spouse was missing. So to look at that and say, I wonder if I can find some brothers, and in this instance, some brothers and sisters that might be available. And then you just look and say, okay, he was born in 1892. I'm going to try to find a 1900 census record with Jacob and Anna in it and see if in 1900 there were any other people in the household other than Ara. So that's the kind of thing that you can do. You come up here and you're able to add research hints. And then if you're still looking, so I mentioned that I want to find the 1900 census for this person, you can just click the ancestry link or the family search link or whatever. It'll take you there and it'll pre-populate the information that it's searching for. And so I've got a 1920, that's a little bit later. He's probably already grown and out of the house at this time. But you can see there's these various records. 1900 for Ora. I don't know, that would be interesting to see what we have there. Anyway, that's the kind of thing that you can do in a review of a person's person page. And once you've done that, then when you take them to the temple, you know that you have prepared them to go to the temple as best you can. You don't have to be a great researcher, but you just looked over the page and said, I think that I found everything that I can find with my level of expertise. But I didn't rush them to the temple and not use the information that I could get. So that's a helpful skill as well. There's these memory tabs that are very helpful. I'm going to go to mine. And when you go into the memories section, there are these different areas. There's photos, there's documents, there's stories, and there's audio files. Each one of those is a delightful experience to participate in. Think of all the people you know that have pictures under their bed or in a closet, and if a young person were to approach them and say, could I help you get those pictures onto Family Search and tag to the individuals that are in them? How many people would just be so grateful for that help? And what's really nice is nowadays with our phones, we're able to put on the Memories app on the phone and just quickly take a picture of a picture or a picture of a document and upload it, and you find that the pictures of pictures are just almost as good as the picture itself. And so a person can pull out their old jumbled up mess of pictures, set them on a flat surface, take a picture, and then say who it is, and you've got your pictures organized, you've got your pictures available electronically, therefore they're preserved, and if a flood or fire comes, they're not going to be lost. That's a great service. So imagine a young person calling up somebody in the ward and saying, can I help you do that? There's also these stories, the idea, and this might be where you get a young person who is willing to interview somebody and call up and say, could you tell me the story of how you fell in love? Could you tell me a story of a spiritual experience that you had? Can you tell me the hardest thing that happened to you as a missionary? Can you tell me, asking good questions and then having the person respond. And stories are typed out and written, and you can put a picture with them if you want to. And so these are really neat. You can imagine a young person calling up a ward member and offering to do this for them and saying, would you want to bring one of your children, one of your grown children, over to the house while I'm doing this with you so that they can continue to assist you as you go forward and make more stories. Sometimes what we want, for instance, with the pictures, there's probably going to be too many pictures for our consultant or young person to be able to finish for them. And so if the young person's going over to somebody who's not real sophisticated on the computer, they could say, would you bring one of your children over and I'll teach them how to do this, and then you guys can finish the process over the next week or months or whatever. The last thing that is a memory that's really a beautiful thing to do is to have somebody in their own voice record the something that is precious to them. So I had my mom tell the story of how she fell in love with my dad. I had my mom tell the story of how of all of my dad's health issues, because he died very young and had bad health his whole life. You could have people tell their favorite vacations. You could have people tell their injuries they've had in their lives, jobs they've had in their lives, all sorts of things. And so if you share the memories or help people to be able to accumulate memories and post them on Family Search, you're going to have some wonderful experiences. And you can see how young men and young women can have this be part of their goals for their groups as they go and spend time with people in the ward helping them do this. One of the things we ask ourselves oftentimes in ward council meetings and in other settings is, who needs help and what help do they need? And oftentimes, especially now with COVID, there are many people who are lonely. And the biggest help they need is just to be visited and have somebody spend time with them. This could kill two birds with one stone. If you had a young person or a consultant in the ward contact some of the elderly members of the ward and say, could I come over and help you create and post some of these wonderful memories so that your family will be able to have them available in the years to come. Another thing that is available to do, this is just a quick little thing and maybe not equal to all these others that we've had, but you'll notice right up here at the top of the home page, it talks about a new volunteer opportunity. And this lets you go through and help the church standardize information that's found on the person page. When information is standardized, the computer can search it and attach it or match it up with sources or records. And if it's not standardized, the computer doesn't use that information. And so sometimes you have a birth date that's not standardized and not used in searches, and as a result, we don't find nearly as many records as we would otherwise. So doing this for the church is one thing, but also going into your own family tree and looking at different people. So one of the things that I think is a great project is to just start it yourself and open up each person. So here's my dad. I open up him and I look over his person page. And as I do that, I then look and say, is everything standardized? Are the dates, and you have these little icons that tell you that places are standardized. The dates need to be standardized in a way that the computer can read them as well. And if they are, then you have the chance to be able to know that we're probably finding as many records as we can. And once you do that, you can then watch that person. You can set a symbol on. Let me. I didn't want overview. You can, in the tree, you can open up their page here, and you can notice that I'm following my dad. And if I unfollow him, then I don't get weekly notifications if somebody changes him. But so I guess what I'm suggesting is a great thing to do is to go to every one of your relatives, open up their person page, and see if it's as good as you think you can make it. And then at that point, click to follow them. And as you follow them, if anybody changes anything, you'll be notified of it. So you can go in and see if it's an improvement or if maybe that person made a mistake. And then at that point, once you've done that, you can feel like your tree that is directly related to you for the closest generations are as accurate and complete, and you can have confidence in them. So that's a fun activity that can be done as well. I've talked about adding record hints, but let me just open one of these people. I'll open up Flavius. If I open him up and look at his at his person page, another thing that somebody could do to help us is to say, okay, first of all, we've got 14 sources. Go down and find any information that you don't have. So with him, I've got good birth, death, burial information, and I've got marriage information, wife. So all of this stuff is pretty good in here, but let's pretend that I didn't have very many kids. I could first of all teach people how to go to the sources that are already posted on the person's person page and open them up and mine out information that's in it. For instance, this marriage record, a lot of times marriage records have the names of parents. And so sometimes if the parents are missing, a marriage record will provide that for us. So one of the first things that you want somebody to do if they're teaching people how to use sources is to first of all verify that the sources that are attached have been used. Then you want to have them attach record hints that are available and haven't been used yet. And then you want to have them come. Family Search has more records. A record hint is something that is 95 to 97% accurate that it's going to match that person. But Family Search has a lot of other records that are not as certain of a match. And so you could click this link, and when you click it, it will go to Family Search's records using the information that was available on that page and find other records that might be your person. You can do the same thing if you come to Ancestry, Find My Past, My Heritage. All of these websites have unique records to them. And so a person can get good at using partner sites, and you could have a youth help people learn how to sign up for partner sites and use partner sites. I've got to admit that I probably, when I'm finding sources for my people, use Ancestry every bit as much as I use Family Search to find sources. And so I would be crippled in a way if I didn't have access to Ancestry. So having a person that's able to go in the home or help them over Zoom or electronically to be able to sign up for their Ancestry account and then learn how to use it from the person page of any given individual is a great skill as well. Well, those are some things that you can do. And obviously there's more there than what we would want to do in a Word family history plan. But knowing all of those things are available helps us to be able to now say, I think we should get some youth that are good at this. And then what we need to do is we need to act on it. We need to get to where we are able to say, I've got a youth that's able to do this. I'm going to call members, I'm going to schedule appointments, and I'm going to try to set a standard. Maybe every consultant in the ward visits with one person a week is our goal. And if you had 4 consultants visit with one person a week for a year, 200 people would have a rich experience with family history work. Too often, as we do family history work, we're talking about doing it, but we're not really doing it. And so this, making a plan based on some specific goals for families to pursue and having people capable of helping them with those goals and then following through and setting up appointments is a great way to have a plan begin to originate.